Welcome to the Genesis series. What can we learn from God in the book of Genesis? God as the sovereign creator. Genesis establishes God as the ultimate source of all existence. Everything, from the vast heavens to each living creature, is crafted by His deliberate command. This reminds us that our lives are part of a grand, divinely orchestrated design, inviting us to live with trust and awe in His authority. The transformative power of God's Word. In Genesis, God's creative utterances. Let there be light, bring forth life and order. This illustrates that His Word is potent and transformative, influencing not only the cosmos but also the lives of believers when embraced and lived out. Order, purpose, and the gift of rest. The creation account unfolds with a clear sense of order, from the separation of light and darkness to the establishment of the Sabbath rest on the seventh day. This sequence teaches us that purpose, planning, and balance, including rest and reflection, are vital aspects of life. The inherent goodness of creation. With every phase of creation, God declares His work good, and ultimately, very good, reminding us that His creation is inherently beneficial and designed with care. This goodness encourages us to appreciate and responsibly care for the world around us. Human dignity and bearing God's image. Genesis chapter 1 verse 27 tells us that humans are created in God's image. This foundational truth imbues every individual with intrinsic worth, purpose, and the responsibility to mirror God's character through compassion, creativity, and stewardship. The consequences of disobedience. The narrative of Adam and Eve in Genesis chapter 3 illustrates that choices apart from God's will lead to disruption and hardship. This serves as a reminder of the need for obedience, the reality of consequences, and the importance of seeking God's guidance in our lives. The promise of redemption and covenantal faithfulness. Even after human failure, Genesis reveals God's redemptive plan. Through His covenant relationships with Noah, Abraham, and others, God shows that His faithfulness endures beyond our mistakes, offering hope and restoration. The blessing of faith and obedience. The patriarchal narratives, such as those of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, demonstrate that responding to God with faith and obedience opens the door to blessings, guidance, and fulfillment, even amid life's trials. Their journeys mirror ours, encouraging us to trust in God's promises. The call to stewardship. In Genesis chapter 1 verse 28, God charges humanity with filling the earth and caring for it. This entrustment calls us to be responsible stewards, caring for nature, nurturing community, and using our resources wisely as a reflection of God's care and provision. God's patience and long-suffering. Even when humanity falls into error, whether in the disobedience of Eden or the wickedness that leads to the flood, God shows enduring patience. His willingness to provide chances for renewal reminds us that divine grace is both compassionate and persistent, inviting us to learn and grow from our failures. Trust amid uncertainty. When God calls Abraham to leave behind everything familiar and embark on an uncertain journey, it teaches us the value of relying on divine guidance even when the path isn't clear. This lesson encourages stepping out in faith, trusting that God's plan, though sometimes mysterious, is ultimately for our good. The value of family and legacy. Genesis is rich with genealogies and stories that underscore the importance of family bonds and generational blessings. The narrative reminds us that our relationships and the legacies we build, ranging from personal values to cultural traditions, play a key role in God's unfolding plan for humanity. Moral accountability and the weight of choice. Throughout Genesis, God is not a distant force but one who walks alongside His people. Whether it's walking with Enoch, guiding Abraham, or providing for Joseph, God's personal involvement in human affairs shows that He desires a deep, ongoing relationship with each of us. Embracing and celebrating diversity. While Genesis proclaims the inherent goodness of creation, it also displays a profound celebration of diversity, from the variety of plants and animals to the multiplicity of cultures emerging after Babel. This diversity reflects God's infinite creativity and challenges us to honor differences in people, recognizing that every part of His creation has a purpose in the larger tapestry of life. The depth of divine relationship. Throughout Genesis, God is not a distant force but one who walks alongside His people. Whether it's walking with Enoch, guiding Abraham, or providing for Joseph, God's personal involvement in human affairs shows that He desires a deep, ongoing relationship with each of us. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. Coming up next, what can you learn from Adam in the book of Genesis? What can you learn from Eve in the book of Genesis? Welcome to the Genesis series. What can we learn from Adam in the book of Genesis? Obedience to divine order. Adam's failure to heed God's command shows us the importance of following well-guided instruction and respecting the boundaries set by a higher moral authority. The power and weight of free will. Adam was given the freedom to choose, reminding us that our decisions shape our lives and that with that freedom comes serious responsibility for our actions. Consequences of disobedience. Adam's choice to eat the forbidden fruit brought lasting repercussions, teaching us that even seemingly small acts of disobedience can alter our life's course. The need for accountability. When facing the consequences of his actions, Adam's story points to the importance of owning up to our mistakes rather than shifting blame. Recognizing our vulnerability. Even as the first man, Adam was susceptible to temptation and error, a reminder that vulnerability is an inherent part of the human condition. The impact on relationships. Adam's disobedience not only affected his personal relationship with God but also altered the intended harmony in creation, indicating that our choices can disrupt our bonds with others. Humility in the face of divine grace. Adam's experience highlights the need for humility. Believing in our self-sufficiency without acknowledging a higher order can lead us astray. Resisting temptation. Adam's succumbing to temptation serves as a cautionary tale. We must remain vigilant against the lure of choices that lead us away from our better selves. The pain of loss and exile. Being expelled from Eden symbolizes the profound cost of straying from our intended purpose, emphasizing that some errors lead to irreversible separation from what is good. The promise of redemption. Despite the fall, the biblical narrative sets the stage for redemption, reminding us that recognizing and learning from our mistakes is the first step toward spiritual renewal. Intergenerational impact. Adam's actions affected not just his own life but also those of his descendants, teaching us that our decisions can ripple through generations. The dual nature of humanity. Adam's story captures the paradox of human nature, capable of great intimacy with the divine and yet also of error and rebellion. Learning through regret and repentance. While not overtly detailed in Adam's immediate aftermath, his narrative encourages reflection on the necessity of turning back and seeking restoration after a fall. Stewardship of creation. Initially entrusted with caring for the Garden of Eden, Adam's role reminds us that responsibility toward our environment and our community is central to a life well lived. Seeking a deeper purpose. Adam's life invites us to ponder our own origins and the higher purpose behind our existence, encouraging a continual search for meaning and moral direction in our actions. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. Coming up next, what can you learn from Eve in the book of Genesis? What can you learn from Cain in the book of Genesis? Welcome to the Genesis series. What can we learn from Eve in the book of Genesis? The value of companionship. Eve's creation alongside Adam underscores that our lives are richer when nurtured by genuine, supportive relationships. The power and pitfall of curiosity. Her decision to explore the unknown reminds us that while curiosity drives growth, it must be paired with careful consideration. Every choice carries weight. The impact of Eve's single choice teaches us that decisions, even those that seem small, can alter the course of our lives. Accepting the consequences. Her story is a reminder that actions have repercussions. The outcomes, whether positive or negative, are integral to our personal evolution. Learning from mistakes. Even when decisions lead to hardship, accepting and reflecting on our errors can be the pathway to wisdom and resilience. Balancing immediate desires with long-term goals. Eve's lapse speaks to the universal struggle of balancing short-term impulses against considerations for the future. Embracing human complexity. Her journey illustrates that being human means navigating the intricate mix of desire, error, and learning, a process that is both messy and meaningful. Taking responsibility. The narrative challenges us to own our actions, highlighting that accountability is a fundamental step toward growth and maturity. The role of experimentation in self-discovery. Eve's willingness to step beyond familiar boundaries encourages us to venture into new experiences, even if they come with risks. Understanding duality. Her experience shows that every choice can have both positive insights and negative fallout, pushing us to weigh benefits against potential costs. Strength and vulnerability. While her choice led to vulnerability, it also opened avenues for honest self-reflection and a deeper understanding of personal fallibility. Navigating between instinct and wisdom. Eve's story poses a timeless question of when to trust one's instincts and when to heed caution, an internal dialogue we all face. Context matters. Her actions are often reinterpreted depending on the cultural, ethical, and spiritual context, reminding us that our choices gain meaning through the lens of our own experiences and values. The journey to self-awareness. By reflecting on her narrative, we learn that every twist and turn in life is an opportunity to better understand who we are and what we truly value. Enduring impact on collective identity. Beyond individual lessons, Eve's story invites us to consider our shared human heritage. It compels each of us to think about how our personal decisions contribute to the larger tapestry of society and culture. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. Coming up next, what can you learn from Cain in the book of Genesis? What can you learn from Abel in the book of Genesis? Welcome to the Genesis series. What can we learn from Cain in the book of Genesis? Give your best with authenticity. Cain's offering to God fell short because it lacked genuine effort and heartfelt intention. This teaches us that whether we're sharing our work, our time, or even our care for others, the sincerity behind our offerings matters. It's a reminder that authentic effort, giving our best despite our limitations, is more valuable than simply going through the motions. Beware of the comparison trap. When Cain saw Abel's gift accepted while his was rejected, envy set in. We all face moments of comparison that can lead to discontent. Instead of measuring our worth against others, the story reminds us to recognize and celebrate our unique contributions and talents without falling into jealousy. Control and channel your emotions. Cain's inability to manage his anger and disappointment culminated in irreversible actions. This reflects a universal challenge. Our emotions can easily overpower us if left unchecked. Whether it's a minor workplace conflict or a personal disappointment, it's crucial to address feelings constructively, seeking solutions, talking things through, or finding healthier outlets for our frustration. Understand the weight of responsibility. Cain's famous retort, "Am I my brother's keeper?" has sparked discussions about our duty to care for one another. In our daily lives, this translates to being mindful of how our actions affect those around us. Whether at home, at work, or in community settings, we all share a responsibility to support, uplift, and hold each other accountable. Every choice has consequences. Cain's path shows that our decisions, especially those made in the heat of emotion, can have long-lasting impacts. It encourages us to pause and reflect before acting. In relationships, careers, or personal challenges, understanding the ripple effects of our choices can help us steer towards better outcomes. Learn from failures and missteps. Although Cain's tale ends on a note of irreversible loss, it serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of learning from our mistakes. When we face setbacks or make choices we later regret, those moments can be used to deepen our self-awareness and spark personal growth. It's about acknowledging our flaws, learning from them, and committing to a better path next time. Embrace responsibility without shifting blame. Cain's attempt to deflect responsibility, answering, "Am I my brother's keeper?" serves as a cautionary note about shirking accountability. In our lives, admitting when we're in the wrong and taking steps to make amends is not a sign of weakness but a crucial step toward true maturity and trustworthiness. Unaddressed insecurity can spiral. Cain's internal struggle with insecurity, feeling that his efforts pale in comparison to his brothers, led him down a dangerous path. This reminds us that if we allow our doubts and insecurities to fester without reflection or support, they can grow into destructive emotions. Taking time to understand and address these insecurities through self-reflection or conversation can keep us grounded. Turning rejection into growth instead of revenge. When Cain's offering wasn't received as he'd hoped, the sting of rejection fueled his anger rather than motivating him to improve. In our own lives, we might face setbacks or criticism. This lesson encourages us to channel disappointment into learning opportunities and personal growth rather than seeking revenge or acting impulsively. Healthy emotional expression is essential. Cain's inability to process and express his feelings in a constructive way ultimately led to tragic consequences. We, too, can fall prey to letting unexpressed anger or frustration build up. Whether it's through talking with a friend or engaging in a creative outlet, finding healthy ways to communicate our emotions can prevent small issues from exploding into major problems. Open communication beats silent resentment. Instead of discussing his hurt and jealousy, Cain allowed silence and bitterness to cloud his actions. This teaches us that honest, open communication, even about difficult topics, can prevent misunderstandings and build better connections. When we air our concerns and listen to others, we pave the way for healthier relationships. Listening to your inner moral compass. Cain was warned about the lurking menace of sin, yet he chose to ignore that inner warning until it was too late. In everyday life, staying true to our values, even when no one is watching, helps us recognize when we're straying from our intended path. It's a call to be vigilant and true to our conscience. Embrace self-awareness and continuous learning. A key shortfall in Cain's journey was his reluctance or inability to see his own flaws. Embracing self-awareness means acknowledging our imperfections and using them as a platform for improvement. This continuous learning from our own behavior can strengthen our character and guide us toward better decision-making. Prioritizing restorative approaches over retribution rather than seeking a way to mend the situation after feeling wronged, Cain responded with hostility. In our own conflicts or misunderstandings, choosing to seek reconciliation and healing, restorative justice rather than punitive measures, can transform conflicts into opportunities for personal and collective growth. Don't let a single choice define you. Cain's single fateful decision overshadowed an entire life. While our decisions do shape us, it's important to remember that one mistake doesn't have to dictate our entire identity. We all stumble sometimes. What matters most is how we learn from those mistakes and continue to build a better future. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Coming up next, what can you learn from Abel in the book of Genesis? What can you learn from Seth in the book of Genesis? Welcome to the Genesis series. What can we learn from Abel in the book of Genesis? Giving your best. Abel's offering was accepted by God because he gave the best portions of his flock, while Cain's offering was rejected because it was not given with the same sincerity and devotion. This teaches us the importance of giving our best in everything we do, whether in work, relationships, or faith. Faith and sincerity matter. Abel's sacrifice was accepted because it was given with faith and a sincere heart. This reminds us that our actions should be driven by genuine intentions rather than mere obligation. Handling rejection and envy. Abel's acceptance by God led to Cain's jealousy, which ultimately resulted in Abel's murder. This highlights the dangers of envy and resentment, showing that we should focus on self-improvement rather than comparing ourselves to others. The power of choice. Cain had the choice to overcome his anger and jealousy, but he chose otherwise. This emphasizes that we all have the ability to make decisions that shape our lives, and we should strive to choose wisely. This story reminds us to recognize and celebrate our unique contributions and talents without falling into jealousy. The power of choice. Cain had the choice to overcome his anger and jealousy, but he chose otherwise. This emphasizes that we all have the ability to make decisions that shape our lives, and we should strive to choose wisely. This story reminds us to recognize and celebrate our unique contributions and talents without falling into jealousy. Integrity and worship. Abel's offering was accepted because it was given with sincerity. This teaches us that true worship comes from the heart, not just ritual. The danger of comparison. Cain compared himself to Abel and let jealousy consume him. This reminds us to focus on our own journey rather than comparing ourselves to others. Faith over materialism. Abel's sacrifice was an act of faith, showing that spiritual devotion is more important than material possessions. God sees the heart. Abel's offering was accepted because of his heart's intent, teaching us that God values our motives more than outward appearances. The consequences of sin. Cain's jealousy led to murder, showing that unchecked emotions can lead to destructive actions. The importance of righteousness. Abel is remembered as righteous, reminding us that living a life of integrity leaves a lasting legacy. Justice prevails. Though Abel was wronged, God held Cain accountable, showing that justice will ultimately be served. The power of choices. Cain had the choice to overcome his anger but didn't. This teaches us that our decisions shape our future. The value of humility. Abel humbly gave his best to God, reminding us that humility leads to favor and blessings. God's mercy. Even after Cain sinned, God showed him mercy, teaching us that while there are consequences for wrongdoing, God's grace is always present. Abel's life may have been brief, but his example of faith, sincerity, and giving wholeheartedly continues to inspire. Which of these lessons resonates with you the most? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Coming up next, what can you learn from Seth in the book of Genesis? What can you learn from Enoch in the book of Genesis? Welcome to the Genesis series. What can we learn from Seth in the book of Genesis? New beginnings are possible. Seth was born after the tragedy of Abel's murder, showing that even after loss, life can continue with hope. God's appointed purpose. His name means appointed, reminding us that everyone has a purpose in God's plan. Faithfulness matters. Seth's descendants were known for calling on God, teaching us the importance of staying faithful. Righteousness leaves a legacy. Through Seth's lineage came Noah, showing that living righteously impacts future generations. Contrast between good and evil. Seth's line followed God, while Cain's descendants strayed, highlighting the importance of choosing righteousness. God's mercy and restoration. Despite Cain's sin, God provided Seth as a way to continue his plan, showing his mercy. The power of worship. Seth's descendants were the first recorded to call on God's name, emphasizing the importance of worship. Obedience to God's will. Seth's lineage followed God's ways, teaching us that obedience leads to blessings. The importance of family legacy. His descendants carried forward faith, showing that our actions influence future generations. God works through ordinary people. Seth wasn't a king or warrior, yet his lineage played a crucial role in God's plan. Hope after tragedy. His birth brought hope to Adam and Eve after losing Abel, reminding us that healing is possible. The strength of a godly lineage. His descendants remained faithful, showing that a strong spiritual foundation matters. God's plan is bigger than one person. Seth's role was part of a larger story leading to Jesus, reminding us that we are part of something greater. Faith overcomes darkness. Despite Cain's sin, Seth's family remained faithful, showing that faith can overcome challenges. God's timing is perfect. Seth was born at the right time to continue God's plan, reminding us to trust in divine timing. Seth's life may not be as widely discussed, but his legacy is profound. Which of these lessons resonates with you the most? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Coming up next, what can you learn from Enoch in the book of Genesis? What can you learn from Irad in the book of Genesis? Welcome to the Genesis series. What can we learn from Enoch in the book of Genesis? Walking with God daily. Enoch's life was defined by his close relationship with God, reminding us to prioritize our spiritual journey. Faith leads to favor. His unwavering faith pleased God, showing that trust in him brings divine favor. Living righteously matters. Enoch's righteousness set him apart, teaching us that integrity and moral living have lasting impact. God notices our devotion. Enoch's walk with God was so significant that he was taken directly to heaven, proving that God sees and rewards faithfulness. The power of consistency. Enoch didn't just follow God occasionally, he walked with him consistently, teaching us the importance of daily commitment. A life of purpose. Though little is written about Enoch, his life had great meaning, reminding us that purpose isn't measured by fame but by faithfulness. Faith overcomes the world. Enoch lived in a corrupt time but remained faithful, showing that we can stand firm in our beliefs despite challenges. God's presence transforms us. His close relationship with God changed his life, teaching us that intimacy with God leads to transformation. Leaving a legacy of faith. Enoch's story continues to inspire generations, proving that a life of faith leaves a lasting impact. Trusting God's plan. Enoch didn't know how his life would unfold, but he trusted God, reminding us to rely on his guidance. Obedience brings blessings. His obedience led to his unique departure from earth, showing that following God leads to extraordinary outcomes. Faith is more than words. Enoch didn't just believe in God, he lived out his faith, teaching us that actions matter. God's timing is perfect. Enoch was taken at the right time, reminding us that God's plans unfold exactly when they should. Hope beyond death. His story foreshadows eternal life, showing that those who walk with God have hope beyond this world. A relationship with God is the greatest achievement. Enoch's greatest success wasn't wealth or status, it was his closeness to God, teaching us that spiritual connection is life's highest goal. Enoch's life is a powerful example of faith, devotion, and purpose. Which of these lessons resonates with you the most? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Coming up next, what can you learn from Irad in the book of Genesis? What can you learn from Methushael in the book of Genesis? Welcome to the Genesis series. What can we learn from Irad in the book of Genesis? Family legacy matters. Irad was part of Cain's lineage, showing how family history can shape future generations. Actions have consequences. Cain's sin affected his descendants, reminding us that our choices impact others. Growth despite hardship. Even after Cain's exile, his descendants, including Irad, continued to build and develop. The power of names. Irad's name may mean fleet, possibly reflecting characteristics of his time. Civilization progresses. Cain's descendants contributed to early human civilization, showing that even flawed people can create progress. Sin can spread. Irad's lineage included Lamech, known for his violent and boastful nature, illustrating how sin can continue through generations. History repeats itself. The struggles of Cain's descendants remind us that human nature often follows patterns. God's mercy is present. Despite Cain's punishment, his descendants were allowed to thrive, showing God's patience. We are more than our ancestors. Irad's story reminds us that while family history influences us, we can choose our own path. The importance of genealogy. Biblical genealogies, including Irad's, highlight the significance of knowing where we come from. Lessons from the past. Studying figures like Irad helps us understand the broader biblical narrative and human nature. The danger of pride. Lamech, a descendant of Irad, boasted about violence, showing how unchecked pride leads to destruction. God's plan is bigger. While Cain's lineage had struggles, God's plan for redemption continued through Seth's descendants. Every person has a role. Even minor biblical figures like Irad contribute to the larger story, reminding us that everyone has significance. We can choose righteousness. Unlike Cain's descendants, Seth's lineage followed God, showing that we can choose a better path. Irad's story may be short, but it teaches us about legacy, choices, and the ongoing struggle between sin and righteousness. What do you think? Does any of this resonate with you? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay updated. Coming up next, what can you learn from Methushael in the book of Genesis? What can you learn from Methushael in the book of Genesis? Welcome to the Genesis series. What can we learn from Methushael in the book of Genesis? A link in Cain's lineage. Methushael was a descendant of Cain, showing how Cain's family continued to grow despite his exile. His genealogy highlights the expansion of humanity outside of Adam's direct righteous line. His name's meaning. The name Methushael is thought to mean, man of God, or, they died who are of God, suggesting a connection to divine themes even within Cain's lineage. A reminder of Cain's legacy. Methushael's presence in the genealogy reminds us of Cain's actions and how his descendants continued to shape early civilization, despite being separated from God's favor. The complexity of Cain's line. While Cain's descendants were known for innovation, they were also marked by moral decline. Methushael's lineage eventually led to Lamech, who introduced polygamy and violence. A contrast to Seth's line, Methushael's genealogy is distinct from the godly line of Seth, which led to Noah. This contrast highlights the division between those who followed God and those who strayed. The importance of names in the Bible. Biblical names often carry deep meanings. Methushael's name suggests that even Cain's descendants had some awareness of God, despite their separation from him. The growth of civilization. Methushael's lineage shows how humanity expanded and developed, forming early societies and traditions that would later influence biblical history. A lesson in consequences. Cain's actions had lasting effects on his descendants. Methushael's genealogy serves as a reminder that choices can impact future generations. The role of genealogy in the Bible. The Bible often traces family lines to show how history unfolds. Methushael's inclusion in Genesis emphasizes the importance of lineage in biblical storytelling. The duality of human nature. Methushael's name suggests a connection to God, yet his descendants moved further away from righteousness. This reflects the ongoing struggle between faith and rebellion. A foreshadowing of Noah's time. Methushael's lineage eventually led to Lamech, whose actions symbolized the increasing wickedness that would lead to the flood. The significance of biblical generations. Methushael's placement in Genesis shows how generations build upon each other, shaping the course of biblical history. A reminder of God's judgment. The moral decline in Methushael's lineage serves as a warning that straying from God's path can lead to consequences, as seen in the flood narrative. The complexity of biblical characters. Even minor figures like Methushael contribute to the broader themes of the Bible, showing that every person plays a role in history. A call to reflect on our own lineage. Methushael's story encourages us to consider our own spiritual heritage and the choices we make that affect future generations. Methushael may not be a central figure in Genesis, but his presence in Cain's lineage offers valuable lessons about faith, consequences, and the unfolding of biblical history. His story reminds us that even the smallest details in the Bible carry deep meaning. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and click the bell icon. Coming up next, what can you learn from Lamech in the book of Genesis? What can you learn from Jabal in the book of Genesis?